everybody, and welcome back to my fall Lunch and Learn series. It is on Fridays at 12 noon. For those of you that didn't figure that out, we started it around October 17th, I believe, and we did two then. Didn't do Halloween because, I figured everybody was busy. And then we are starting back up with the November series of three of them. We'll do today's and the 14th and the 21st. And I have Coach Krystal with me. Hey, Krystal, how you doing?
Hi, doing good. How are you?
Good. And some of you guys may know Coach Krystal. First, I'll introduce myself in case you don't know me. I am Helen Panos, the owner of Dynamis Learning. It's a K through 12 tutoring, SAT, ACT prep, and executive functioning. We also advocate for parents and the school systems. Been doing that quite a bit lately. Here at the end of the semester, may I add. And as I'm saying end of semester, I want to warn and inform people and encourage you to take a look at those grades right now because you got only about 5 weeks left of real school time. And if anybody's failing, and I've been getting some calls, then now's the time to call me, not after Thanksgiving, preferably, because then it's kind of hard to rescue a child that's failing. Just want to throw that out there because I'm seeing it. And it's happened to me almost every year I've had this business. Krystal could probably relate. Krystal, introduce yourself too, please.
Hi, my name is Krystal Dement. I am an executive function coach. I have been an executive function coach for going on 5 years now. I worked in business management and HR for 15 plus years before I did this. I have executive dysfunction, ADHD myself. And so I have figured out ways to help these kids get through life, just like I needed back then. And so that's what I'm here for. And that's what I'm doing.
And I'm sure you still use some of the strategies, right?
Every single day in practice.
All right, because ADHD, once ADHD, always ADHD.
That's right.
I say that because I had one parent one time tell me, "Oh, I don't think he's ADHD anymore," and I'm like,
You figured out ways to manage it, probably. That's what he
right.
did.
It's not like, fever comes and then it finally goes. It's not like that quite exactly that way. But today we're going to talk about those hidden gems of the gifts, we call it, discovering the hidden gifts in your child's ADHD. So I am going to start with a great question. And actually, Krystal came up with 3 great questions. Love them. What are 1 to 2 hidden strengths you see in kids with ADHD, and how can parents help them own those gifts?
Awesome. Okay, so there are lots of different gifts that we see with ADHD. But the 2 that I see the most are courage and energy. Okay. So children with ADHD face constant correction, right? Which builds immense courage. Parents can lead and help them own it by naming those strengths that they have, right? So you have to make sure that they realize that they do have these strengths along with these struggles. So for instance, you could say you have the courage to keep trying that tough math problem instead of just focusing on the result, right? And so all of that energy that they have that you see bouncing around, they can focus into things if they're empowered to do so. And so making sure that they are empowered and that they are motivated is your biggest asset that you have.
Oh, yeah. Motivation. Woo, that's a big one. Especially our middle school kids or 8th graders are kind of starting to feel spring fever, and it's only November. So they don't see the end in mind. They're like, it's too far out, or they don't connect all the dots. We have one of those right now. Actually, we're trying to help. So how can parents help a teen channel intense hyper focus onto necessary schoolwork, not just their passions, like gaming, right?
Right. And so we see that hyper focus in gaming, where you're saying, hey, come on, we need to do this. And they're like, and they can't hear you. They just hear wah, 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 like peanuts, like the parents in peanuts. Because they're intensely focused on the stimulus in front of them. And so the key is preloading the environment. You can't fight their wiring. You have to direct it. Okay, so we treat hyperfocus like a powerful energy source. Schedule the most demanding academic tasks immediately after a period where they were allowed to deeply engage in high interest activity. Okay, so you can set them up with the game, where they are in that high interest activity, preparing them that they know we are going to stop this game in 10 minutes. You get to play the game for 10 minutes, right? And then you jump into the homework. And when they're done with the homework, they're allowed to jump back onto the game, right? Another area is, and this one we always say, make sure they're staying active. If they're outside running around or walking the dog or something like that, they're going to create endorphins in their system, which is going to turn into dopamine. And that dopamine can supplement them while they are doing their homework.
Interesting. Wow. That's quite interesting. That's a great idea, actually. We have, you have a lot of kids, especially boys, that are gaming and their parents can't pull them out of there. So, hey, you might as well use it to your advantage, parents, right?
Right. You say, I'm going to go ahead, we can jump on the game right now, but know that when this timer goes off, it's time to jump into homework. And so they're prepared for that at that time. And so they say, okay, and then they're able to easier break out of the hyperfocus and move to the game. It still might be a little bit of a struggle, but you're preloading that environment with, the stimulus. So
how long does the stimulus last, you think?
I'm not really sure. It depends on the person.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody's different. I don't imagine it lasts very long. With me, if I do something like that, it's just enough to get me started onto the next task. It's kind of like when
it's still like a task initiation thing,
right? It's kind of like when you've been working all day and you've had a lot of things happening one after the other, and then you get in your car to go home and you're just like, I don't know what to do with myself. That feeling that you have. It's like I've just been busy all day, and you're like looking for the next thing to do.
Right.
It's that same type of stimulus that continues. And so making sure that you're giving, that's another thing too, is make sure that you're giving a little bit of a transition between those two. Instead of just saying, hey, game, homework, say, okay, the game, and then we're going to take 5-minute break and then do homework. So they can change their mind into the homework. Right.
Yeah. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah. Sometimes if I haven't had a really, really busy day and I'm like, I just need to take a break for a minute. Let me just sit here for 5 minutes. Right. And then I kind of like calm down, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready now to get into the next thing.
Right.
That's a great idea. So how does the ADHD brain's non-linear thinking, and you may want to define that, translate into creativity, and how can parents nurture that asset?
So a nonlinear way of thinking, if you can imagine, it means that they make connections that others miss. Okay, so when you're sitting there watching them making a decision and it's taking them a long time, they're thinking around it in kind of a 4-dimensional way. Their brain is going in so many different directions at once, and through that, though, you find wonderful creativity. Right. And it's something that should be nurtured, those connections. So there's a quote out there somewhere. I can't remember who said it, and I apologize, but it's novel connections are the cardinal feature of creativity. Okay. And so when we see novel connections, new connections within, an established idea, that's where creativity comes from. It's where art comes from. And so you want to make sure you nurture that. Parents should frame problems as challenges rather than tasks, right? So, how they say online, or on TikTok, they say, this is the such and such challenge. This is the this and that challenge. You can use those words to do that for something else that they're doing, right? Other tasks that they're doing, because they recognize that speech as being a challenge and it makes them want to do it, right?
Right.
And so, what are 3 completely wild ways we could solve this? Might be a way to say it. Just using a word like that, like, what are some interesting different ways you think we can do this? And it validates their thinking style while gently guiding it towards the solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they end up coming up with these incredible ideas when you give them the space to do it. And so a lot of times, you know, they get shut down because they're not following the beaten path, but let them wander a little bit and see what they come up with.
Mm-hmm. Interesting you say that, because I was just talking to a parent the other day about, you know, it's parents will phrase this question to kids after school: how was your day? And they're going to go, fine, especially if it's a boy, because she has a boy, and she says he doesn't say much lately, and he's an 8th grader. And I said, well, why don't we rephrase the questions then? And I'll send you a blog that I've done. Actually, somebody else wrote it for me. One of my former parents he writes for Psychology Today as well. But I already kind of knew this, being a gifted lead, that creativity and critical thinking go together. So I have a whole blog on. Actually, I'll try to put it at the end of these comments when I'm done with this today. We'll add it in the comment section. But it's about how to phrase questions to your kids about their day, but not asking them, how was your day? Because you know the answer you're going to get: fine, good. I mean, if it's really bad, they may tell you it was bad. And then you really do get into a conversation if they'll tell you. But, you know, there's other ways to phrase things that then gets them thinking more critically, and then has them go into it. Is really creative. It really helps with the creativity. So I'll include that blog link in the comments.
One of my favorite things to ask people or ask kids is, what is the most middle school thing you saw today? Or what is the most high school thing you saw today? And a lot of times it throws them back and they're like, wait, what? And I said, just think about it for a minute. What do you consider to be something that is high school? Right? And what was one of those things you saw? And if they say nothing, well, what about yesterday or this week? You know, and then one of them will say, oh, I saw somebody, you know, hold a banana up to their ear like a phone and yell in the lunchroom or something like that. And then it gets them laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite go-to.
I would be curious. Yeah, that's a good one. Like, what do they even view as being a middle school thing? Right. And I have plenty I could add to that, since I was in middle school for 25 years.
Oh, yeah. You've probably seen it all.
Oh, yeah. I think the one thing that really stands out in all the years I taught was a young man was leaning back like this in his chair, right? And I'm going, okay, honey, don't keep rocking back in that chair, okay? You could fall. And then next thing I know, we start, you know, I'm teaching or whatever, and then boom! He goes back and hits his head. And I'm going, did I say you shouldn't really lean back? That might happen.
It's like, you were given fair warning. However, let's go to the nurse. Right.
And my next favorite thing is when they got rolling chairs in the computer labs, and you take them into a computer lab. Guess what that looks like as soon as 30 kids enter a computer lab?
Mario Kart.
They all get in a chair and they're all spinning around.
Right, and sliding across the floor. Rolling
around. Yes. You're going to only see that in a middle school atmosphere.
Right. Kids find ways to have fun with stuff. You know, it's like they're trying to stimulate themselves in a sterile environment, you know? And so, you know, asking them, how can you make this fun, is another way to get them onto tasks, because they are good at making things fun. And so they're going to think, oh, well, I could do this or I could do that, you know, depending on the child. Of course, some of them are a little more modest. But the ones that really, you know, that really delve into that creativity, you could say, hey, do you want to, you know, you want to do a time lapse of you videotaping your room or cleaning your room? You know, do a time lapse of it. That'll get them stimulated, you know, because they start acting in front of the camera. You know, or, you know, where you could just dress up when you do your homework, you know, like this is my homework attire, you know, you could do something like that, you know, and that it stimulates them a little more. And you don't want to stimulate them too much, you know, but just a little more than they would be otherwise, because, you know, they're tired of it. Like at the end of the day, they just don't want to, you know, they want to play or do something stimulating. They've been in class all day.
I think this is another one that stands out for me until the principal stopped it. In the mornings, they would bring in the Starbucks, you know, holders with 6 big drinks in the morning, and we're like, where are those going?
Right.
They're full of sugar, and they're like going to deliver it to their friends.
Right. And you're like, no.
And selling candy is another one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could write a whole book. Now you got me thinking, Krystal, maybe I need to have a whole book of these.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a few middle school teachers get together and we form a book of the middle school stories.
Right.
It would be pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, it'd be a fun, quick, fast stories, right?
Yeah, quick read. Yeah, and funny, humorous.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I should ask you to say to people, what is executive functioning? Because I think some parents, I think the ones that are older, and I know you're doing our 8th through 12th graders and adults, but I don't want to assume everybody knows what executive functioning really is and how you don't have to go into detail how you do it, but what is it about executive functioning coaching that helps kids, I guess, is my question.
So it just in a nutshell, executive functions it's like the management system of your brain. Okay. They are usually controlled by a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. Right. And they are task initiation, time management, organization, self-control, emotional control, flexibility, self-monitor, and working memory. Right. Mm-hmm. And so those are the 8 that we focus on. However, there are a lot of them, they go into areas like prioritization, and stuff like that. And so, but we try to focus on just 8 because, of something called analysis paralysis, where we have too many options and we can't make a decision. Right. Mm-hmm. So, working on those different areas are, if you really think about it, are what make people successful in the way that our world is set up. And so if you're naturally creative and you're also naturally unorganized at the same time, while it's not something that comes easy to you, you should try to learn those skills so that you can perform in society to standards, so that you can get further in life and then use your creativity however you want. And so we buffer those skills for people, whether they are, whether they're starting from square one, if they need to brush their teeth every day or create some sort of routine like that, all the way to figuring out how to manage their college schedule or how to juggle a job and school. There's just so many different directions we can go with it. And we kind of focus in on that pain point first. Like, where is it that's making your life hard right now? And we go straight for those things. And it usually trickles into the other areas that people are struggling with.
Another one would be, I think, like test anxiety.
Yes.
Because they do well in classes. I feel like I was there. My class grades were terrific. It was the testing, like a big test, like an SAT, ACT, or, maybe even your major unit tests, because it's a lot more information going back to working memory, right?
Right.
It's a lot more information for them to remember versus like a final that's coming up in December, right? It might make them anxious. And I'm not sure that parents would actually necessarily, some kids show that anxiety, others internally, I think, have it.
Right. It just shuts them down. Their brain just goes quiet. And that actually lies in the area of emotional regulation, surprisingly, because the anxiety of the test, there's a part of our brain that it's the watchtower of the brain. It's supposed to protect you and send you into fight, flight, or freeze, right? Whenever there's something coming. So if you say, you're a cave person back in the olden days, and you walk out of your cave and there's a lion outside, yeah, your brain's going to shut down everything and say, run. Right. It still does that, but it does it for things like tests where we know that the stakes are high, and then suddenly your brain just doesn't work. You studied all the stuff, you thought you knew it, and then and so you have to be able to take the action to turn your brain back on. And there's lots of tricks and tools and things that we teach kids for that.
Yeah. I remember when I did an interview, and I'll wrap up with this. I was interviewing for a coordinator of social studies position. I think it was in Fayette County or somewhere south. And, there were like 10 people around this big, conference room table. And the first guy was right here on my left, was the AVP of the county. And all of a sudden, the table's this thick, so you can't really see his hands, but I could see his knuckles going like this during my interview. They go, you have 50 minutes. Everybody here is going to ask you 2 questions. You got to do it in 50 minutes. I'm like, speaking of, oh my God, talk about anxiety.
Right.
And then I see him going like this, and I'm going to myself. I totally got distracted at the very beginning, and all of a sudden I see his fingers going up and down. I'm like, is he texting during my interview? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is at his position is texting during my interview. And that was when texting wasn't even as popular. I'm talking several years back here. And so I was like, Helen, you need you're being timed on this interview, right? I'm like, you need to snap out of that. And I refocus. I talked myself into, he might be using it to take notes on what I'm saying. I'm like, so let me refocus.
Reframe it so that it doesn't shut you down, right?
Yeah, and it worked because I got done at exactly 49 minutes.
Right. You have to refocus your brain out of that. And, it starts with noticing that you're getting shut down because of it.
And then the moral of that story, you want to hear the real ticker on this?
Yeah.
Is I get home, I'm telling my husband at the time, God, I think that interview went really well, but this guy was over here. I swear, I think he was texting during the interview. And all the others were teachers. And the next day on Saturday morning, because this was a Friday, they had to get a certified teacher to come into my place because it was during Georgia Milestones to let me go on that interview, because you have to have a certified teacher to give the Georgia Milestones. It can't be just any sub. So funny enough, I think it was my sister that came and subbed. So they were okay with that, or I wouldn't have been able to go. And this was the only day they were doing 3 interviews, one in the morning. I was in the morning. Then there was one at like around lunchtime, and then one in the afternoon. That was it. It was us 3. And the next day, the letter already shows up in the mail to me. Well, thank you for your time. We chose someone else, blah, blah, blah. And where my brain then went, he was texting.
Yeah.
And because in my knowing who got it, I then said, they already knew who they wanted. They were going through the motions of interviewing 3 people. And I was like, yeah. Because I knew her too. When I found out who they gave it to, I happened to know her. So that's when I knew. And I knew she was on one side of the south side. It was 75 or 85. She was in the other county, wanted to get to the other side. So anyway, they gave it to a person that was already a coordinator. Just wanted to switch counties. Yep. But I thought, I can't
wasting my time.
What is amazing to me is they didn't even wait. They put that thing in the mail thinking it wasn't going to get to me till Monday, I guess, when obviously they already had drafted it for it to have gotten to me that fast.
Right.
If they weren't finishing interviews until about 4 o'clock.
Somebody forgot to call you and cancel.
No, somebody forgot to tell the secretaries, don't mail those out till Monday.
Yeah.
And it was stamped, right? Because you can see what's stamped from the post office. Yeah. So I was right. He was texting because he wasn't really interested in being in the interview. He didn't ask any questions. He was just listening. He started the whole intro, but it was an interesting experience nonetheless. I was proud of myself because I got it done in the time. I had all those questions being asked. It was interesting. Well, guys, we're going to wrap up. So contact me if you'd like to talk to Krystal. My information's right there. It's 770-282-9931, or email me at info@dynamislearningacademy.com, and we can set up a free consult for you to talk about what you see is a problem and you haven't been able to fix it. And it most likely is falling in one of these categories if your child has not changed that habit or that whatever is going on, that's keeping him from doing what he needs to do to be or she be successful. Anything else you want to wrap up with, Krystal?
That's all for today.
All righty. Well, guys, we'll see you next Friday. And that topic is going to be, let me pull it up real quick. On my gallery. ADHD under the radar. What parents can do. Ooh. Do. All right. Come join us to find out more about that. All right. See you later. Have a good weekend, guys. Bye. Let's try it again.